Welcome back, everybody. This is Music Talk with Dave and Mike.
Yeah.
I'm Dave.
I'm Mike. Hello.
This week, we are doing the latest from Kansas, and it's called The Absence of Presence. Looks like this.
Yep.
Really cool album cover.
There you go. Right there.
Yeah.
Full of information.
Yeah, the picture's super cool on there. It's a nice oil painting that they had. The lady actually did the last one. The last one was called the Prelude something. I can't remember the last album. It was a pretty good album too, if you haven't heard it. Didn't have this guy Tommy on there, Tom Brislin, but
right,
pretty much the same band. But yeah, album cover comes out. You got the inside. One thing that I will say that I don't like about it is they give you this extra CD, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever you want to call it. It's a 5.1 audio mix Blu-ray. So I popped it in hoping I was going to get something, but all I got was the same thing on the CD. So there's no extra material. So pretty much, I don't know why. I guess so you can get a surround sound 5.1. I mean, to me, I was hoping there'd be a video or at least an interview, something on there.
Yeah.
So
some people like the 5.1 because it puts instruments in different places in your room. If you got the 5.1 system, I mean, I think it 5.1 has pretty much had its heyday. It belongs in a theater. It doesn't belong in your house.
And I mean, that's cool and all, but I mean, at least put something on there different. I mean,
yeah, I was thinking
giving me 2 copies of the same thing.
When it said Blu-ray, I was thinking that they had videos that went with it, you know, and I was
that's what I thought too. And I put it in and I'm expecting something because I mean, there's a bunch of interviews about this, the making of this online, and none of it's on that CD or Blu-ray or whatever. I mean, I could at least put something on there. Anyway.
Right.
Another complaint that I do have about the cover is if you look at this, you don't know who that is. You got to look real close to see Kansas in there. It's all mixed into the bubbles. And then the album name is in that little stream.
There it is right there in the bubbles.
But their logo, man, I mean, you got to make it stand out a little more than that. Because, I mean, the Kansas logo is kind of iconic, you know?
Yeah, it is.
They've always had that iconic look. So it's a little more, I don't know. Once you see it, you find it pretty easily, but, you know, whatever, right?
I'll tell you this, though. I heard Kansas the first time. I was living in Livingston, Montana, had just got back from the Navy. Hadn't even made it back to Virginia yet. And we went to Bozeman, Montana, right over the pass, to see Loggins and Messina. And the opening act was Kansas.
Yeah.
Never heard of them. Didn't know who they were. And my God, let me tell you something. They walked out on stage and they ripped it.
Yeah.
And when Loggins and Messina came out, it was a letdown.
Yeah.
They were too high energy and too well put together. And we were listening to hell, I can't even remember the name of the place. It was like an armory. There was no acoustics in there. Everything was bouncing. And luckily, I was way back at the back of the hall.
Yeah.
You know, so I was catching the sound before it was bouncing.
Yeah.
And I was blown away, man.
Yeah.
That's like about the only other experience I had that was even close to that was the first time I saw King Crimson. You know?
Right.
And I'm like, my God.
Well, I mean, Kansas is you know, I mean, they've always been a great band, always.
Yeah.
And this, you know, I've seen them 3 times actually. First time I saw them, they didn't have Steve Walsh. They had the guy in the Power days with Steve Morris on guitar. Right. And then I saw him later where Steve Walsh had come back, and he's really pretty much at the end of his vocal career at that point. But now they got this new guy, Ronnie Platt, and I like him. He's a great singer.
Sounds like Steve Walsh.
He does. He's got a lot of it, right? And the only original members left or Phil Ehart,
Phil Earhart, and
Rich
Tom
Williams.
Breslin.
Yeah,
Well,
Rich Williams.
Yep.
And then and Billy Greer, man, has been with them for a pretty good while now. He's
About
been with them
22
since like 85.
years, about 22 years. 20.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So,
maybe,
I mean,
yeah.
basically those three have been together since 85. And of course, Ehart and Williams have both been there since day one. And then now they got a guy named David Ragsdale playing the violin, which is a superb violin player. And then
I've tried to place where I've heard Ragsdale's name before. And I don't know. I think I'm getting him mixed up with somebody that was part of Deep Purple.
Well, I didn't see any of the credits with them. He did play it with Spock's Beard for a little while.
Yeah, but wasn't there a Ragsdale that was involved with somebody like Deep Purple or somebody like that?
I don't think so. Nothing I ever heard of.
Ragsdale.
I do know he played on one of Queensryche's songs, but other than that, I've never heard of him before now.
Yeah.
But he has done some stuff with Spock's Beard, who's a more modern prog band. This guy here, Zach Risby, this guy, he's a guitar player. He's the one that produced it. Did an excellent job of production.
Yep.
And the newest guy is Tom Breslin, right?
Right.
The new keyboard player. And I don't know if you know much about him, but he was in Yes for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
He was also in Camel. Played for Camel.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. And then he did some stuff with John Anderson and Roy Stolt. And his own band was called Spiraling, like spiraling down. And they've got some really good stuff where I've seen them do Sound Chaser by Yes live. For 4 dudes. He sings, and the rest of he's an incredible keyboardist. Keyboard. So, but this album, man, this is a great CD. Great.
It is.
I mean, the production, everything sounds great. I mean, sonically, it's one of the best sounding records we've heard, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean,
the drum sounds are incredible. Phil Earhart, incredible. He's an incredible drummer.
I think he's just as good now as he's ever been.
Yeah. Well, I think he's better now than he was then.
Probably so. Yeah.
He's a little bit more comfortable using his double bass, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I mean, at times when he was using it, I didn't feel like it was really called for, but it's like, yeah, go for it, dude.
Yeah, but it wasn't overbearing.
It wasn't overplayed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. When I was on the road with Ronnie Wolf, we were playing Jackpot, Nevada quite a bit. And I had a couple of encounters in Jackpot. But Kansas was the featured act in the theater this one weekend. And we're playing the lounge across the street. So we're sitting there doing sound check. And here comes the Kansas Road Crew and all the ladies.
Yeah.
They all were sitting down, having dinner and drinking. And the girlfriends and wives all hung out over at the lounge while we were playing.
Yeah.
While Kansas was across the street doing their thing. And I guess, it's one of those things, hey, you hear it every night, you get tired of it after a while, I guess.
That's right. Yeah.
But I did get to meet Phil Earhart later on that evening.
That's cool. Super cool.
Yeah. Very, very nice guy. Very, very humble.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've always been a Kansas freak ever since I heard them.
Yeah. I mean, they've always been a great band. They've always got a lot of meaning in their songs. And I
love the instrumentation. I do. I mean, fiddle, keys, guitar, you got the whole genre.
And the thing about this too is like, the problem I had with Deep Purple stuff was they had all this stuff going on, but it all was right here. It sounded, you couldn't make it out. Here you got 7 people, right? You got violins and keys and two guitars, and they're all playing these parts, but none of it is none of it. How do I say this? It's all in its place here.
Right.
It's not like it's too overbearing. Like there's not too much high end. There's not too much low end. The
Right.
bass is where it's supposed to be. The drums are where they're supposed to be. The guitars are playing their harmonies. The violin's doing everything it needs to do. And it doesn't clash with each other. Everything is in its place and you can hear it very well. It's not like there's too much high end going on. There's not too much low end.
Right.
Nothing's getting lost. I mean, you can distinctly hear everybody playing their part. And I just, to me, this is the best I've heard Kansas since the 70s.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I said to my wife when I was listening to it was, to me, it was an extension of Point of No Return.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't sounded that good since Point of No Return until now.
Yeah. Yeah. But to me, the way the songs were laid out and the way they rest in the pocket.
Yeah.
And the sounds that they have, which were actually incredibly better than the sound of Point of No Return.
Right.
But it was right in that same vein. And I got to tell you something, that vein of that album, Point of No Return, really hit a nerve with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping the same people grab a hold of this one and run with it.
Well, I mean, let's just go through the songs real quick. And the first one is the title track, The Absence of Presence. And man, I mean, it starts out, it is classic Kansas, right? It starts a little mellow. And then, it feels a little bit like Genesis, a little bit like some Yes in there. And then, man, they hit you with all these, crazy changes and these dynamics. And man, that when he comes in with that synth solo, that's that 70s sounding synth, man. I mean, it's like the Rick Wakeman, Tony Banks. I love that synth sound, man.
Yep.
And then just crazy. And then they take you up to this big crescendo on the solos, and then they just ease it right back into that, mellow verse again. And it's like, wow. It's great. It's great. It's 8 minutes of pure greatness. That first song.
Yeah. Yep.
I couldn't get enough of it, man. It was so good. It took me everywhere I wanted to go on the
every one of these songs.
Yeah. I mean, second one
to me were a joy to listen to. I mean,
yeah,
it's just, it just led you down a path to where nothing surprised you, but it sounded so good.
Yeah. I mean, the second song, Throwing Mountains, I mean, that had the heaviest riff, dude. I mean, just great rocking, great bass and guitar work together, and then, the words to these songs are incredible. It's all good. The Jets Overhead, number 3. One thing I want to say about that is you got to hear that violin solo. That is one of the wildest, craziest violin solos I've ever heard. It was so awesome. So whoever's listening to this, you want to hear a great violin solo, put on Jets Overhead.
Yep.
I've never heard anybody play a solo like that on a violin. It was so good. I mean, it really was. And it's still, I think about it constantly because it's like, man, that was so awesome. And the words are really crazy. I don't know if you got into words much, but this song is basically about a human being dumped by an alien woman, right?
Right.
And she's dumping him at the airport, and that's why the jets are overhead, and he really can't hear what she's saying.
Right.
But he's worried that he didn't give her a good enough impression that when she goes back to her elders of the planet, that they don't think the humans are too bad. That you know what, they're pretty good.
You were only here to see if we're worthy to those that you answer to. Just another fool, crossing my fingers, wondering what you said. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he's like, I'm see you're breaking up with me. You're leaving. You're going back to your home planet. But please don't come back and destroy us. Please tell them that we're pretty good people down here. It's crazy. Typical prog rock lyrics, you know?
Well, it could be also, I mean, it could be laid into layers of any genre that you want to look at. I
Mhm.
mean, you can look at it politically, you can look at it emotionally, you can lay it in all those terms, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, yeah, you used me and now you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the fourth song, you got Propulsion One, which is really cool. It's just a short instrumental. And
Mhm.
Tom, what he said when he wrote it is that he was, when he was with Yes, he said one of his favorite songs was Cinema. And what he said was that this one, he was looking for something like that. He wanted something short and great. And he called it Propulsion One because he wanted it to sound like a spaceship,
Mhm.
which kind of, you get that feel about it because, that when it starts out, so I think he definitely got what he was looking for on that one. So
Yeah.
that's a great song. A lot of double bass in that. That was just
Oh
a
yeah.
total flat out kick butt song there.
Yep.
That's Propulsion One, yeah. So then you get to number 5, Memories Down the Line, which you'll just have to read the words on that. That's some heavy duty meanings there. It's basically about passing everything down through generations until they figured out how to do it genetically and stuff. It's really, Tom Breslin's got some crazy words, man. I mean, he's an excellent lyricist. So there's a lot of meaning going on in there. And great song, kind of yes, kind of yes sounding to me. Uh, Circle of Illusions, it's another great one. Words were actually written by Ronnie Platt on that one. And then Animals on the Roof, which is really cool because there's a lot of credit given to Phil Ehart on the lyrics, but really what happens is that he was bringing in titles. He
Right.
said, "Hey, I got a title I want you to work on. It's called Absence of Presence or Animals on the Roof." So
Mhm.
then Tom Breslin's like, "All right, well, what are you thinking?" And he's like, "Well, Animals on the Roof, when him and Rich were in school together, they didn't feel like they belonged because they were always looking at things, in a different view. So it was like if you were riding down the street and you saw some animals on the roof, you'd be like, weird, oh, that's really weird. That don't fit in." So that's kind of where that came from.
Right.
And another great song. And the funny thing about Animals on the Roof and what was the other one? There's another song. There's 2 songs on here. Might be the song River sang. Phil Ehart actually sent them tracks that he played in his house on an iPhone, drum beats. And he's like, "Hey, see if y'all can do something with this," right?
Right.
So what they did was, what Zach and Tom did is they took some of those tracks that he emailed them and put them into songs. So if you listen real close, you can hear the drum sound change, where they took part of what he had in his house on his iPhone and looped it into the song, and you can hear it's really subtle, but if you listen, you can almost catch it. It's kind of
Right.
weird. So
Right.
they said they wanted to get that in there because that's how they wrote the songs off of those beats. So yeah, so Animals on the Roof is one of those. And then they got a ballad that they came up with. They wanted to do another power ballad, which is Never.
Right.
And then the last song was sung by the keyboard player. Tom Breslin sings that one. And
Right.
that's the song The River sang, which reminds me a lot of later Yes. But the thing that really I like the song, but one thing that I did not like about it is
The ending.
it ended so fast, right?
Right. It was just dead stop.
I thought that I didn't get the whole song.
Yeah, well, I thought that my CD player had just stopped playing.
Me too, right? So then I went and listened to it on the computer, and I'm like, well, maybe it's just something happened on the CD. And then I listened to it on the computer, and it was the same. I said, well, something's wrong here. So then I put in the 5.1 Blu-ray, same thing. I'm like, so you just ended it like that? That was it? Really strange to me, man.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of strange too, but I think if you look at the thread that is woven all the way through every one of the songs that come to the end, that really, it really puts a period on the end of the story.
Yeah, it does.
But it's also that's what I'm saying though. I think that was totally their intention. And it's like, I'm gonna have to listen to it a couple more times to probably get comfortable with it, but I think it's pretty appropriate.
I guess. I mean,
I mean, it's like this is it, bang.
it really wasn't even like that. It was almost like
said
it was almost like right in the middle of a
of a
passage,
crescendo.
though. Yeah, it wasn't even like at the end of a measure. It was just like now,
Yeah,
that's
I
it.
want to see them do it live.
Well, the only thing they could do live is probably go right into another song, right?
I don't know, either that or the sound man pulled the plug on the PA.
Pull the plug. Whenever you're ready, just pull the plug. Right? That's it for the concert. See you later. Good night. So that was I thought that was very strange the way they ended it. I mean, but
you know what? It's got you talking about it.
It does.
And it caught your attention. But like I say, I really think it'll take a few more times and really some heavy lyric following to really get the common thread.
Yeah, you definitely need to sit down with the lyrics, which they do have the lyrics with
yes,
it.
They do.
So that's a good thing. So every song's on there.
They got a whole little catalog here of
and it's great writing, man. I mean, I think Zach wrote a lot of really good songs here. I think it's classic Kansas, Fortunately, they have so much Kansas to pull from, so you can really write anything at this point, and it's going to be a Kansas kind of song, right? But sonically, it's a great sounding CD, probably one of the best. I mean, the drums sounded great, the bass sounded great, I love the drums. Everything sounded great.
The drums sounded, to me, the drums sounded phenomenal. There are a couple of songs where that snare sound he had with that gated reverb going on, it was just incredible. You had that smack and then that just follow through reverb happening, and it was just like incredible sounding.
And the thing too is the vocals, they had this like compressed flange on it. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And that is a great effect to have on vocals, especially because, I mean, Ronnie Platt's a great singer, but he's not one of those that has that super strong voice, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
But with that effect on there, it really brought his voice out, and everything worked. And I mean, listening to some of the interviews, like with Zach, he said he's been playing with him for like 5 years now. So he actually knew how to write for Ronnie's voice. And you can tell, I mean, these songs were written wonderfully. And
they were. They were.
It flows so well. And I mean, there's everything in it, man. I mean, everybody plays so well.
I just think that Kansas is one of those bands that when they set out to do things, it falls into place. It's not a struggle. It all sounds natural.
So I think you have everything here that you could ever want in Kansas. I mean, I know what you're saying, that when they write stuff, it kind of like they fall into place and stuff like that. But in the 80s, there was some bad Kansas records.
Yeah, there were. I didn't really like them. They were in their turmoil and rebuilding because Kerry Livgren had left. Seeking his Christian.
Steve Walsh left.
Walsh left, and they were, really having to dig deep.
Yeah.
And it's just like, when I was out on the road in the 90s and, 2007, here we are in Jackpot, Nevada, and there's Kansas. It sounded great from what I heard.
Yeah.
But even at that time, they were still trying to find themselves.
Yeah.
But now
I think when they started working with Zach more, because Zach was actually doing some production with him about 20 years ago. And then he came along and started really producing their stuff and then writing songs. So then he became a member of the band as well. And the last two albums that he was on, which are, this one and I should have wrote the other one down, but it's Prelude Implicit or something like that.
Right.
It's a good album too. It's a really good album. And I think that they were starting to hit their stride again with what they were really looking for and what they really wanted to sound like. But when Tom Brislin joined the band this time, I think that was the final piece, man. And I think this particular CD, this album is super. I think it's a super. If you're a prog rock guy, you're gonna love this record. I mean,
I gotta
everything
agree.
you want.
I gotta agree with you. You know, I mean, there's prog rock can fall, it can fall victim to being pretty boring.
Yeah,
actually,
it can.
because you wind up with these dreamy soundscapey sounds and stuff like that, and you know, everybody's trying to enhance that soundscape, and it gets really boring.
It does.
But Kansas attacks it.
Yeah,
they go after chasing those lyrics and making things happen. They change it dynamically, time signature wise, sound wise, instrumentally. I mean, they've got the full gamut happening.
Well, I think they do a really good job of painting the picture, you know?
Right.
I mean, where some, like you're saying, some prog songs, you get to this point where they're just so long, and they're doing so many things, and then you just kind of get lost. And it's like,
I'll give you an example, and it's not often, but this band, and I love this band. I love the musicians. The Porcupine Tree and Fall Victim to being very, very boring at times.
They do have points where they can get that way.
You know, and I mean, they're not the only band that does it. You know, I'm just using them as an example.
Right. Well, one thing I think, I mean, I don't know, because I mean, I'd have to get more into it, but I feel like that you usually get that problem when you have the one guy doing everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like when, you know, like with Porcupine Tree, it was a lot of Steve Wilson written product, right? With this, though, I feel like it's more of a band effort. Even though one person might have written it, I think he wrote it with everyone in mind and parts that are going to come in and out. So, which is what I think this album worked so well, because it wasn't just like, hey, I wrote this song and this is the way it goes, learn these parts and let's do it. I think it was more of, check out what I got. Let's see what we can do to make it what we want it to sound like.
Well, and
they're not really long songs either. I mean, you only have like one 8-minute song and one 6-minute song, and the rest of them are average 4 or 5 minute songs, you know?
Yeah. And
so you don't get too lost, right?
Right.
But honestly, people, go out and get it. There's the album cover, really cool painting.
There's the lyric sheets.
There's the lyric sheets. You know, if you like the 5.1, maybe you do. It's in there. It's right there. Yeah. I don't like it, but you might. You know,
the inner sleeve has a ton of information.
It does. It does. I'm gonna give this an 8.5. I feel like there was a couple times in there, and I'm gonna say this because I'm selfish, that there could have been a little more of a bass solo.
Yeah, well,
that last song, he started to do one and they just went right back out of it. He had the perfect opportunity. They could have put a small roll in there for him on the first song, Absence of Presence. It could have made it another 30 seconds, give him a little bit. I wish they would have let Billy Greer sing a little more lead. He didn't do any lead on this one. He did on the last one. Because, you know, Kansas always has been known to have more than one singer.
Yeah.
Other than that, you know, the ending aggravated me on the last song. I think they cut it off too quick. It kind of aggravated me, even though, like you said, it made us talk about it, and it made me go look at 10 different other versions of it and see if I lost something.
Yeah.
So they had me talking. So I give them credit for that. They had me searching. But 8.5, man, I mean, it's a really good album. 8.5 is a really good score. I mean, for me.
I got to go the same way. I got to throw an 8.5 at it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I did too.
As far as like you were talking about the bass solos and stuff, well, I think it's a heavily rhythmic writing in the first place, with a lot of movement, a lot of changes. And Phil Earhart, I'm totally proud to say I've met the man.
He was impressive on this one.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was impressive, and his drum techs did a hell of a job. And I got to say, the sounds that they got out of his kit were amazing.
I've seen him live twice or 3 times, however many, and he's always been great. He's always sounded good. I mean, I feel like he probably is the leader of the band.
Yeah, I think
I want to do one more thing too before you get off this. Is I really think that Rich Williams was super good on this too, and I think he's very underrated as a guitar player, because everybody always talked about Kerry, and then you always had Steve Morse, and no one ever talks about him. But man, he is a really good guitar player, and a lot of that heavy stuff that you used to hear in the 70s was coming from him. I mean, he was doing these heavy riffs, and here you got, you know, Zach on the right side and you got Rich on the left, right? And you can distinctively tell the difference, because you got Zach with his Strat sound, and then Rich with his, you know, humbucking Gibsons or PRSs or whatever he's playing now.
Right.
And there was a definitive difference between the two guitars. And I think and I go back to what I was saying earlier, how all the parts were distinctive. So when you had Rich and Zach, and then Ragsdale doing his violin, and then Tom with the keyboards, I just think that they put the pieces of this puzzle together so well that everything was clear, nothing got clouded. It was just excellent. And I do think Rich Williams definitely needs to be recognized more, because no one ever talks about him in the band ever. And he's a great guitar player. And you listen to some of that finger picking stuff that they're doing in there, and it's super guitar work. I mean,
there you go.
I mean, I don't care what instrument you play, you put this album on, you're gonna love it, because everybody does everything so well. And I can't wait till they come live, man. I want to see this band live.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole thing. I want to see them live, and I would love to be able to get word back to Phil Earhart. Hey, I'm here at the show. I don't know if you remember me from Jackpot, Nevada, but you know,
yeah. You never know, man. I mean, he's still very clear. His mind's clear. So,
oh yeah,
you never know.
But no, I was very impressed with the CD album.
Me too, man.
And like I say, to me, it just picked up to from where Point of No Return left off.
Yeah.
I mean, and I felt like that was the road they should have continued following all along.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like everything in between then and now was just whatever. And now we're back to where we should be, because these 3 new guys that are in the band, I mean, they were listening to this stuff.
Oh yeah,
coming up, man. And it's like, you know, this is what they wanted to play coming up, and now they get the opportunity, and they're bringing it back to what I feel like it should be. You know,
it's right in the pocket, man. Go out and buy the CD.
Yeah, you got to get this one. You got to
make your own decisions.
I mean,
you will not be disappointed.
And it's even got a great album cover, man. You know, I mean, all prog rock has great album covers. And that brings me to the next topic of the day. Is originally I wanted to do our top albums, right? That's awesome. I was like, wait a minute, are you drinking PBR? Because that's a PBR mustache if I've ever seen one.
That came in my X-Acto knife kit. It's called Mr. Penn.
It actually looks a little bit like what's his name, Scott Holiday from Rival Sons. He's got that little handlebar mustache. So
There you go.
you got it going on, man. Which, by the way, is still one of my favorite CDs that we've done.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'll give it the nod.
He's giving it the nod. So originally I was going to do our top 5 picks for prog rock albums, but really I think I want to change that to just say groups, right?
Well,
Because,
I think it's going to be kind of hard to go top 5 because of the fact that I think the top 5 involve probably every band that we wanted to listen to anyway, all through the changes.
Yeah.
Which means, I mean, okay.
Well, that's why I was saying, if we go with albums, how many of those are going to be 2 or 3 by the same band, right?
Right. Well, take King Crimson, for example.
Right.
How many changes have they been through?
And how many of them albums are great? You know?
It depends on what
Right.
genre of King Crimson you want to listen to.
So what I'm thinking we'll do is what we'll do is we'll just pick 5 of them, 5 bands that we feel influenced us or we like a lot in prog rock, right?
There you go. Okay.
So let's do that instead of saying albums. And I've got some albums here that I'm going to pull out, but I mean, it's just too hard for me to say. Like, for instance, when I say, and I'm not going in any order of like 5 to 1, I'm just saying these are 5 bands that I listen to coming up, love them, a lot of their albums. I've got a few that I like out of their collection that I'm going to showcase. But, you know, to pick one of their albums and say it's better than the others, it's super hard to do. So yeah, I'm just gonna start out with Marillion, and they've had some great albums and Misplaced Childhood, Fugazi, stuff like that. But I've got right now is Script for a Jester's Tear, right? And this is what I mean about prog rock, right? And you're going to notice this theme as I go, unless we look at Emerson, Lake and Palmer, terrible album covers. But these here, look at that cover, man. I mean, how awesome is that? If you're a prog rock band, you got to have a great cover. And if you look closely, you'll see the words to Yesterday from the Beatles right there.
Yep.
And then the back of it's even super cool, right? But this album is really a great album. They were kind of like a Genesis band coming out. They didn't sound as much like them on the couple albums then. Yeah. Right. So anyway, Marillion is one of mine. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you can look at so many genres.
Yeah.
If you want, you could look at Chicago Transit Authority, their first album as prog rock.
Yeah.
Because everything at that point was just pop and beach music, and then here they come.
Right.
With I Just Want to Be Free. They're carrying a full horn section and got probably one of the best guitar players that ever hit.
Yeah. And singer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh my God.
I mean, everybody gave him props, man. Even Hendrix was like,
oh yeah.
They were like, well, how does it feel to be the best guitar player, right? And he always would say, I don't know, you need to go ask him. What was his name?
Jerry Cath.
Yeah, that's what he always said. He said, you need to go ask him if you want to ask what it feels like to be the best guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I'll tell you what, and thing is that a lot of people don't realize he was using like a 60-watt amp that was like I don't know, it was just some throw-off amp pushing 4 12-inch speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way he could get the sound he was looking for was with that rig.
Yeah, to tear it up. Yeah. I mean,
it had, there was no, I don't know, I'm still kind of puzzled as to what the name of the amp was.
Yeah.
But
probably his own creation, I would guess. So
yeah, but the whole thing is like, what stamp in time do you want to look at?
Yeah.
Do you want to look at prog rock?
It doesn't matter. I'm just
You
going
know,
prog rock. So Chicago's
right.
a good pick, really. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, they opened up a lot of doors, man.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
thank you.
my next one is going to be Genesis.
There you
I
go.
mean, and right, I've got the Lamb Lies Down right here because I think this was probably one of the most ultimate prog rock albums of all time, double album even. There's some stuff on there that's a little strange. Peter Gabriel's words get a little weird, but musically, this is one of the best prog rock albums that I've ever heard. And I feel like at the time this came out, which I think was around 74, 75, something like that, I think that technology actually caught up with Genesis, right? Because Tony Banks was always the cutting edge keyboard player. And I feel like around this time, they actually had keyboards that could do everything he wanted it to do, right?
Yeah.
So you were actually getting the full Tony Banks, but all the Genesis stuff, you know, past even up to now, really, you could look at Foxtrot, you could look at the Wind and Wuthering. They were all great records, so they're always going to be an all time prog rock favorite of mine.
Yep.
You know, so
here's another one of my favorites.
Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull.
Absolutely.
Ian Anderson. I'm gonna tell you something right now. You want some gothic tales written out?
Yeah.
You want to go from the
good old Scottish.
From the depths of acoustic music.
Yep.
To just nail you in the face with just hard rocking.
I mean,
just I don't even know how to even put it into words.
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, look at Thick as a Brick, right?
Thick as a Brick was a masterpiece.
Masterpiece. It was. I mean, probably one of the all-time best prog rock albums ever, right?
And he's not even in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, but he did win a heavy metal Grammy.
Yeah.
First heavy metal Grammy ever given out, Jethro Tull, which is
what does it tell you though about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
What does it tell you about the Grammys even?
Yeah,
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has no clue, man.
But
put that album cover up there. Let's look at that again. Prog rock album cover. Look at that. That is the coolest thing.
And look on the back.
Yeah,
sitting there with his dog.
Exactly.
On the gutter.
But I mean, you see that album, man. You know it, man. That's gonna be a great record. Right?
Yeah, I mean, especially in today's time. You know?
Yeah. Well, my next pick is probably going to be on your list as well, and I'm going to go with Yes. And, I mean, I'm going to put some albums up here. I brought out Fragile because I know that's one of your all-time favorites, right? Again, look at the artwork, right?
And the Yes album.
And the Yes album. Artwork on that one wasn't as good.
No, that was just more a photo shoot with the with the film strips next to them, you know.
Yeah, and then of course, Close to the Edge has always been known probably as one of the most classic Yes albums of all time, or even prog. Look at the artwork on the inside of the gate. You know, I mean, look at that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, got them on the back. Bill Bruford, Rick Wakeman, probably one of the best lineups of Yes of all time, right? I mean, you had them all. But always one of my favorite of their albums, and I brought this out because I just love this record so much. This is a 3-way gate. This is Going for the One, right?
Okay.
It's got the Hypnosis on there, which I was never a big fan of Hypnosis album covers. I always thought they had stupid album covers. So I don't know why they got away from Roger Dean on this one. For some reason they did. Inside cover's got a tree and then the band. But, you know, the album itself, though, dude, oh, gosh, this is one of my all-time favorite Yes albums. It's always been Going for the One, Turn of the Century, you know, Parallels, Wondrous Stories, and Awaken. And Awaken, you know, I mean, come on. That's one of the best all-time prog rock songs ever written. So
Well,
got to get yes on that one. And going for the one is always going to be special to me. Every song on there has always been something for me. Wondrous Stories. I could sit and listen to that all day long,
Yeah. My next pick is going to be, and this is kind of a two-way street here, but it's going to be King Crimson / Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Okay. Throw them both
The
in
biggest
there.
reason why I'm doing that is because of Greg Lake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, King Crimson, great stuff. I swear to God, in Court of the Crimson King.
Yeah.
Wow. That's all I got to say is wow.
And the thing about King Crimson is throughout their years, man, the stuff they did, like when, then Bruford joins them later, right? They get Robert Fripp and Adrian Belew and, Tony Levin with his stick that he plays. I mean, you're talking about from the 70s all the way to even the 90s, right? And now they're still out there running around. Now they tour with like 3 drummers, right?
3 drummers, yeah.
I mean, they're still innovating. You still got Robert Fripp doing his thing, right? I think Adrian Belew might still be with him. I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, King Crimson.
Well, the reason why I bring them up is because what introduced me to them, I went to a Humble Pie concert. It was a triple billing. It was Alexis Corner, this band King Crimson, I had never heard of them, and Humble Pie.
Yeah.
So, okay, Alexis Corner comes out, two-man group.
Yeah.
Bass and guitar. Well, then all of a sudden, the drummer for King Crimson, I think it was Michael Giles, came out and sat down. Well, he was a left-handed drummer. It might not have been Michael Giles, but anyway, sat down behind his kit and just started playing drums for him. They finish their set and walk away. Everybody's kind of like, yay.
Yeah.
Then the lights go down. King Crimson walks out, and they opened up with Circus.
Yeah.
And it was Boz Burrell was playing bass and doing vocals. I had never in my life heard of King Crimson before at this point. Never. And when Humble Pie came on, I was fried. I wasn't in the mood to even listen to Humble Pie. I was like, I wanted more King Crimson, you know?
Yeah.
And I loved Humble Pie. So that caused me to start digging in, and I found 21st Century Schizoid Man and all that stuff. It's like, my God.
Yeah,
and
so
it was Greg Lake. Greg Lake doing the vocal work.
Yeah.
And Greg Lake with Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
Trilogy has to be my favorite Emerson, Lake and Palmer album.
Yeah. And then you had, Brain Salad
In the
Surgery,
beginning. I love the stuff like In the Beginning, playing that 12 string. Down
like Carnival number 9,
all
that stuff. So yeah, the only thing that ELP that I didn't like by them is they had the worst album covers of any band ever.
Oh, I don't know. I like Tarkus. I thought
Tarkus was good, but then they started putting their faces and their pictures on there. They look like Miami Vice, and
gosh. I thought Tarkus was a great album cover.
Yeah, Tarkus, great, yeah.
And Lucky Man, the first album, it has the dove on it.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool album cover.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I had to do the Slash is because it was Greg Lake.
Right.
Sold both of those bands.
Yeah.
His vocals, his bass work, and his acoustic guitar work.
Yeah. Well, my next pick is going to be very obvious. And I'm going to go with Pink Floyd. Animals, still always my number 1 album.
Right there with you, brother.
Great album cover. You had that period there where they had Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh yeah.
You had Animals. You had Wish You Were Here. You had The Wall.
So iconic, and
Right. That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, Pink Floyd, you got to have that one on there. So,
well, just look at their lyrics. And that's the biggest thing to me about prog rock.
yeah,
The lyrics,
absolutely.
so few words that punch so deep.
Right. Yep. I know.
Roger Waters is a master. Oh my God. He's a master at lyricist.
Yep.
Just
So who else you got?
I'm at a loss right now.
What?
I'm
That's because you've been.
well, I mean, I could go with Porcupine Tree,
I'm just messing with you.
I could go with Porcupine Tree, go with whatever.
Porcupine Tree. I mean, fear of a what is it? Fear of a Dark Planet. Is that what it is?
But see, if I start saying that, what I've honestly got to say is I'm following Gavin Harris.
Yeah.
From King Crimson to Porcupine Tree to
right.
I mean, because I love his drumming. I love his sound. I love the flavor he adds to music.
Well, even the drummer they had before Gavin was still really good too. I don't know I don't know what his name is, but they still had good drumming, but yeah, Gavin Harris is one of the best ones out
now,
there.
The only other prog rock that I want to throw out there is Frank Zappa.
Zappa, yeah. Yeah, Frank Zappa's a strange one because it's hard to put him in a category.
It's
right, but you're right. I mean, what is it? Joe's Garage,
oh my God. Well, that's the big one.
Yeah. I mean,
to me, my favorite one was the one they did live at the Fillmore.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Zappa.
Yeah.
And Flo and Eddie were doing the vocal work.
Yeah.
Imagine you and me.
Yeah.
But they talk about Mud Shark and all that stuff,
Yeah, don't eat the yellow snow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Zircon encrusted tweezers.
Yeah. That's it.
Riding that pygmy pony.
Plucking that old dental floss.
That's right.
I'm gonna go to my number one. My number one prog band of all time, always will be. And that's going to be Rush.
Well, yeah.
And this album cover here, Farewell to Kings, which these two albums, I think to me, you can't have one without the other, because you started out with the last song here of Cygnus X1 Book 1, and then whole side one of this is the continuation, which is Cygnus X1 Book 2. And then, of course, you got Circumstances, The Trees, La Villa Strangiato. I mean, this is when Rush was at their prime.
Yeah.
I mean, La Villa Strangiato alone should have put them in any Hall of Fame that was ever made. I don't care, but anybody says they were definitely well overdue when they got in. They should have been put in years before. I mean, even Farewell to Kings, you had Xanadu, which is one of my all-time favorite Rush songs ever. Closer to the Heart, which everybody knows. And then, Cygnus X1 Book 1. I mean, honestly, anything you get from Rush, even in the 90s, if you dig into the albums, they got a little bit weird there, a lot of keyboard oriented, but you could still pick out parts in there that are super great. And then, of course, they came back to their roots again. But anything you pick up from them, it's great. But I think Hemispheres and Farewell to King, as far as prog rock goes, are two essential albums that any prog rocker should have in their collection. To me, they're some of the best. So,
oh yeah,
they'll always be on my top forever. So,
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Neil Peart, ever how you want to pronounce his last name, Peart. I've heard so many pronunciations of it, but if you look at it and you replace the P with an H, you got heart. So if you put the P there, you got part. So whatever, all I got to say is the man literally wrote his own chapters of prog rock drumming.
Yeah.
And there's a
I mean,
lot to be said about that.
He had one of the best brains in the business, man. I mean,
and when you got Leif Allison and Geddy Lee,
yeah, Alex Lifeson, yeah,
Alex Lifeson,
yeah.
whatever.
I'm not sure who. I think Leif Allison was the guy that played with Harry Georgeson on some of the albums. Right? That was his pseudonym on some stuff.
Yeah. Well, there you
So
go.
you probably have seen that name.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere.
They've changed their names around.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever.
They just didn't want anybody to know it was them, so that they wouldn't overbuild the band. So,
but when you got three people that know their instruments and know their job
as well as they do
now, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah, man. Well,
They could walk on stage and replicate everything they did in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't any sweat.
Right. I'm going to do a couple other shout outs for bands that probably should have been on this list, but there's so many. I mean, so.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And one of them is, I'm going to say, well, we've already been through a lot of them, but Dream Theater, I know they're more of a prog metal, but I'm going to say Dream Theater, man, is a big prog rock band that, really needs a lot of credit, because they brought a lot of the modern heavy metal prog, So
if you leaning in that direction, you also got Tool.
Tool, absolutely, which I love. I love Tool.
I love Tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on and on.
It does.
It's like which side of the page do you want to land on here?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about like some prog metal one day.
Yeah, it's all prog rock. It's all prog rock.
Yeah, it is.
It's like for example, we'll take Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, he leaned a lot on the acoustic side, but let me tell you something. They leaned a lot on the heavy metal side too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was even in the early days, but it was before metal, so they kind of, ushered that in, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, right. Yeah. And
I want to give a shout out to a band we talked about earlier too, Camel. So, I mean, and here's one that a lot of people probably have, overlooked a lot, and that's UK.
Yeah.
UK. That was Alan Holsworth, John Wetton. You had Bill Bruford in there, and then Bruford left, and they brought in Terry Bozzio. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, talking about a super group, that's what UK was, like a prog rock super group, really.
Yeah.
So, well, then of course, we can't forget Kansas.
No, you can't forget Kansas.
I mean,
you can't, and also too now you want to dig into who was it that did what was it, The Dark Spot in the Sun or whatever? What was the name of that song? In my life. I mean, they were totally.
Are you talking about Soundgarden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another prog rock band,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, they were definitely more of a. They always seem to get classified as grunge, but they weren't grunge.
No, they were prog rock.
It was because they came out of Seattle in that same era that grunge came through. They always get locked into that grunge rock,
Right.
But they did a lot of time signature things, so you could actually put them in like the prog metal category.
I think that's where they belong. I don't think they belong in the grunge, because
I never considered them grunge.
The singing was too spot on. The music was too well rehearsed.
It was complicated.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't have a formula that everybody understood.
Exactly. And the thing about that band is, I'm not sure if it was their guitar player or their drummer, but they always had different time signatures. They always played in these weird time signatures,
But didn't that drummer play also for not Nirvana? He was with that drummer worked with 2 or 3 different bands from the Seattle era.
Yeah, he may have done some stuff with Pearl Jam, and
Yeah, I think it was Pearl Jam,
I know he did.
Soundgarden, and there was one other band that he dealt with at the time.
Could have been Faith No More or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but the guy was a monster player.
Great drummer.
I mean, he filled the pocket.
Yeah.
Now, and what I'm saying about they were prog rock, a little bit different. It was a little bit different approach than what Yes would have done.
Yeah.
They were like you were saying, they were more of a heavy metal approach.
Yeah, they would be more like a Rush, more like a Rush, more like when Rush was in their heavier period.
Right.
You could put them in more of that era, probably. Tool, same thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I consider those like a prog metal type thing. So, and like I said, we could actually go through prog metal and just, there's a lot of great prog metal bands.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, we'll wrap this episode up. Well, I gave it an 8.5. Absence of Presence, Kansas. You can go out and check it out. It's great CD for anybody that likes prog rock, or if you just like rock. I mean, it's a great album, man. I loved it. I gave it 8.5. Mike gave it an 8.5. You guys go check it out. Tell us what you think about it. Comment. Throw your favorite prog bands in there, and tell us something you might want us to check out. So, all right, well, until next time, I hope you all stay safe out there. Let us know what you think. Hit like, share, subscribe. Let us, hit us up in the comments. So,
drop us a line. Peace out, and listen to the music.
Listen to the music.